Hey you guys, and welcome back to the Tempest Productions, and tonight I will be giving you my full review for the film Gold, which stars Matthew McConaughey, Bryce Dallas Howard, Edgar Ramirez, Toby Cabell, Corey Stoll, Bruce Greenwood, and also Craig T. Nelson. Let's just jump into it. So, Gold is the true story about a man named Kenny Wells, who is a prospector slash failed businessman who is just trying to make a living for himself. However, it's when Kenny is at his lowest that he meets a man named Mike Acosta, who is this geologist who I guess discovers gold in Indonesia, and they try and, or not really discovers, but he thinks he has found a good spot where there might be gold, and so they go and they start to investigate and they start digging and they get the permits and they are able to do this. They build up a team of Indonesian workers that live there in the village wherever they're going to find the gold, and they team up and they stay there for like days, even weeks, and I think even months if I am not mistaken. And basically it just shows how hard it is to like find the gold, what they have to go through. Even at one point, Matthew McConaughey's character gets really sick, really ill. It's not really a big spoiler, actually not really one at all. I'm just trying to say like the conditions that they were in and how that affects them. I think he ends up having malaria at one point, and this is based on a true story, so everything I think that happens basically does maybe is embellished a little bit, especially with some scenes of the film, but that I think that did actually happen, where the Matthew McConaughey's character got malaria and then had to stay there for a few more days and try to find a gold mine, because that's where they are and that's where they think the gold is. And if they come back with no gold, then what was the point? And they don't want to come back with nothing, especially because of the relationship that Kenny had with his father, Craig T. Nelson's character, and I was very surprised to see him in this movie. I did not know he was going to be in it, along with a few other people in this film, which I will talk about later. But the relationship between them is very important to Matthew McConaughey's character, and it really, excuse me guys, it really explains to the audience why he is searching for gold and why he wants to do this so bad and why he wants to prove everybody wrong, like it says on the poster. He wants to prove everybody wrong about his father, about the business of gold in general, and just that he can be the man that his father was and kind of live up to his expectations about the business and things like that. And so I really thought that shaped the character of Matthew McConaughey as Kenny Wells, and I think that he just did such a good job as portraying that character. So the thing about this film, guys, is it is very off-putting, and what I mean by that is it is kind of misleading, and it is kind of similar to some things you probably have seen before, say The Wolf of Wall Street. That is, I think, a movie that will be compared to with this film, in a sense that it's trying to be over the top, but in a really nonchalant, kind of subtle way. And I don't know if nonchalant was the right word to use. I could be using it in totally the wrong context. But I do believe that it is a misleading topic and kind of a way to tell you about this story. A lot of true stories have a problem with feeding too much information at the audience all at once, because you do have to get all the information out there. That is why you're making the movie, to tell the true story. And you have to do that, but you also have to establish characters, reasons why they do it, what actually happened, and then put your own twist on it. So there's a lot going on with these types of films, and I feel like they just kind of over-exaggerated a little bit in the trailer to kind of get you to see the movie, because the film, oh my god, it pulls you in with its cast, but then it kind of drags on until the credits roll, and it's not such a good feeling to have when you go in with this certain expectation, because that is exactly what I did. I went in thinking this was going to be a fast-paced movie, kind of like The Wolf of Wall Street, again, as I referenced earlier, and it wasn't like that at all. Matthew McConaughey was not Mark Hanna, he was Kenny Wells, and that was just a completely different feel than what I was going for. Not to say that it was bad or anything, but that it was just kind of different, and then kind of made me feel like, oh, this is how the movie's going to play out, so like I better get used to it or else like I'm not going to enjoy it as much. And I feel like that was the only bad thing about this film. But besides that, guys, the characters in itself. Let's talk about the characters. Not just with Kenny Wells, but with Mike Acosta. Both characters are ambitious as hell, right? They want to go find the gold. They just need luck. They need luck to go and find the gold. Once they figure out where they think the gold is, right? So that's what they do. They need luck. Without luck, none of this would happen. And the thing about that is they are ambitious, yes, but you later find out that they're kind of just clueless and lazy, and that is a huge character flaw that I think needs to be presented in this review. Is that they're trying to be this huge business, this huge, I guess, kind of corporation where it deals with gold specifically, but it's just not them, and they're kind of half-assing it. And it feels like Matthew McConaughey isn't even really trying in his performance. But I mean, that was just me in general at the start of the film, at least. Eventually, later on, he does kind of become more not personable, but like more of his character and more of who the character actually was in real life. And I feel like he wasn't just kind of, half-assing it. He was really being who that character was, and really towards the end of the film, just being that character. And I know I'm saying that a lot in many different ways, but because that's the only way I can really kind of describe it to you guys without giving anything away. And I think that's very important to Matthew McConaughey's character, along with the rest of them. Now it wasn't up until halfway through this film where things began to get interesting. Like, it always had this slow vibe to it, especially with one of the weirdest opening scenes in a while that I have seen. But besides that, the film just kind of goes on, and by that I mean it has this sort of feel to it, and you kind of realize it halfway through the film. But then the tone changes, and it's very, very strange. You can kind of tell how it changes, but not really, because it's kind of the same tone as it was going for originally, but just slightly changes a little bit to where it's a little bit more faster paced. But again, it is very subtle, and it is a very light feeling to the characters that they rub off on you, and you really start to kind of care about what's going on, but I feel like it's not like you're fully invested in it, at least not until the very end, because eventually the characters do try and make deals with other corporations and businesses that want a piece of the gold that they are finding in Indonesia, and everybody just wants a piece of the gold. And that's when I think the film gets really into its characters and into its writing and into the true story itself. Is not like the first hour, but the whole second hour is when it really becomes a rush, and when I think you really start to care and understand why the characters are there and what the characters are doing at that moment in time. And I think that was really cool to see, the weird transition, but it definitely worked for me, and I think I liked the film a lot better because of it. And I don't know, I really liked that transition and the whole feel to it. Let me just move over here real quick, because I don't feel like I'm in the middle. That is an awkward feeling. Alright, so, basically, you guys, I am going to rate the film now. I kind of talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Besides, also, there's one more thing. I'm not going to give anything away. I just want to talk about, not really the scene, but there is the very last scene of the movie I was a little bit confused about, but it made up for it because the way it ended, it was just so good. It was like one of those feel-good moments where everything ties in together. And I feel like the way the film did that, especially with what happens to the characters later on in the film, and you just kind of feel for Matthew McConaughey's character finally in the end, and you're like, wow, that was really satisfying to see the way the film ends. And you're like, you know what? I'm glad that happened, and I respect it. Respect the film for the way it ended. And it was just kind of really satisfying, and that's the point I'm trying to make, without spoiling anything. Even though it is a great ending. If anything, go see the movie just for that. Honestly, though, guys, I don't think it deserves the reviews that it got. It's kind of like when The Accountant came out, it got like around a 50, and I didn't really agree with that because I love The Accountant a lot more than I think I should have, and that's how I kind of feel about the same way of Gold. I feel like this is going to be a really underlooked movie. Not many people are going to go see it. It's got a great cast, really surprisingly well written and has a really cool style and feel to it that I think a lot of people are going to miss out on and just feel like it's a little bit too slow and not really engaging enough. But for me, it had all those elements and it really tied up with the rating that I'm going to give it. So is Gold a bad film? Well, when you weigh the options out, guys, in the end, I am going to give it personally a good. And that is about like the halfway mark on our rating system. That Ryan came up with, and I feel like a good is a satisfying rating, just like the way the film ended, and I feel like it's just satisfying, it's fair, and I feel like it'll give enough incentive for people to go and watch the film, or not. They can either really like it or really hate it. I didn't really talk much about what went on in the film. I didn't want to give away too much, because that's what happens when you start to talk about a film. You start to spoil things, and I don't want to do that. I just kind of wanted to tell you how I felt about it, and tell you that you should go see it. If it's not your type of movie, then go see something else. That's cool too, but just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the movie Gold, and that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Nick. This is The Tempest Productions, and I will see you guys in the next video.